A new practice in the books, and some new names on the recruiting front.
You are Locked On Bama, your daily podcast on the Alabama Crimson Tide. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hey, everybody, and welcome back into Locked On Bama, AHSA Radio Network's Luke Robinson. That's me. Alabama internet legend Jimmy Stein. That's him. This episode is for you, the everydayer. That's what it's for. That's who it's for. We love you everydayers. We thank you for being here every day. Thank you, newbies, for being here today. And thanks, everybody, for making this your first listen every single day. You guys are the best. When I screw up the beginning, it really throws me off. I never thought it'd be like that when I've heard other people do it, but it is like that. I was trying to correct. I do this every time. I know I'm supposed to start like immediately into the meat of everything. Does anybody else do this? Number one, I don't know how to type great, so I just hunt and peck very fast. Every time I type the word great, it comes out Greta. I don't know why. I just noticed it, so I'm going to fix it while Jimmy tells you what he learned from practice today.
Well, is the Greta girl, is she the climate person in Europe, the little 11-year-old that's into the climate thing?
How dare you?
Well, what I'm saying is maybe that's in your autocorrect. Because I'm always typing stuff and it comes out something else. I'm like, oh, I must type this all the time. Maybe you're always talking about the Greta girl in Europe, and that's why it comes out that way. See, I doubt it. I doubt that's the case.
That's not the reason. It's just I'm a bad typer. But
well, okay, that makes more sense. But what happened today at practice? Well, the main thing for me is just Kane Womack, talking about practice when it was over. And, here's something that stands out to me about this group. Let me do two things about this group. Number one, I want to remind everybody that's listening, we were all Alabama fans before DeBoer and his crew got here. And let's just hypothetically say that one day DeBoer and his crew are gone. You know what? We're still going to be Alabama fans. We're always here. And the people that come in, even Nick Saban, it was 17 years, but I remember what it was like before he was here. And now I know what it's like when he left. We're always here. And I say that to say they're always different. Every crew that comes in, they're a little different. And one thing that's different about this group that's sort of funny is Coach DeBoer, when he speaks to the media, it's not the most engaging thing on the planet. He's not full of sayings that you would write down and put on a painting behind your wall. Not that I have any of those things. But he's not a quote machine. A lot of it is fans that say, "Oh, well, that's just coach speak." We don't learn a ton. We don't hear Coach DeBoer speak. Go, "Oh my gosh, I didn't know that," or "Oh my gosh, I didn't know that." But you know what? His coordinators, Kane Womack and Ryan Grubb, when they speak, we learn quite a bit. They're very straight shooters, and when they're asked a question, they give a direct answer. Almost to the point it's a little surprising. And I went on that big, diatribe to say that's sort of really unique, isn't it? Where the head coach, when he speaks, you're like, we're not going to learn a whole lot. But when Ryan Grubb or Kane Womack speaks, we learn quite a bit. So this is what I'm thinking. That's all by design. Nick Saban was that way. Everything came from Saban. You didn't hear from the coordinator except for maybe twice a year. You heard it all from Nick. He wanted one message. DeBoer does it differently. Doesn't mean he's doing it wrong. He just does it differently. And with DeBoer, the message is really going to come from Ryan Grubb and Kane Womack. He's just here to remind us that, hey, I'm the captain on top of the boat that's keeping us between the shorelines.
It's a big passage. But, I think that falls in line with what we said we wanted in the coach after Saban. You remember, like, when we were looking for the next guy after, when Saban retired, I was like, I think we got to go the opposite of Nick Saban. And in my head, I was thinking maybe somebody more aloof and somebody a little goofy and, like a Dabo Sweeney-esque type dude. But now that we're about a year and a half into DeBoer, I think he is kind of opposite in the sense, like you said, instead of the message coming from his mouth, he allows it to come from his coordinators' mouths. And he's sort of like the Godfather sitting back and like, yeah, this has all been approved by me, and I like he does one of these things, I think it's opposite of Saban, and I think it's also pretty selfless.
Yeah, he don't want to be the show. Saban was the show. Saban liked being, I'm not taking a shot at him. Saban was a rock star, and he enjoyed being the rock star. The helicopters, the one voice speaking for the program, when he walks in, he had all the security. He didn't travel places without an entourage. Saban liked being a star. Now, he would tell you, no, that's my way of promoting the brand. It was the brand. Alabama was the star, not me. Yes, but Saban became a star in the way that he portrayed the Alabama brand, and I like it. I do. DeBoer does it totally differently. Doesn't mean that it's wrong, but you're exactly right. I mean, I think DeBoer is fine with, you can ask me about the quarterbacks, and he's going to give you an answer, but Grubb's answer about the quarterbacks is insightful. I think DeBoer's answer about the quarterbacks isn't wrong. It's not a lie. Yeah. It's just not deep. But Grubbs will be, and Kane Womack is the same way on defense.
I feel like if Kalen DeBoer were in that VRBO commercial where Nick Saban was like chickens at 2, and they're like, it's 1:45, and he's like, I know. And Kalen DeBoer would be like, come on in, we got plenty of room. Y'all go meet our coordinators and talk to them.
Kalen DeBoer's like, this is my real house. This is my real house. Me and Nicole live here. Me and Nicole and Alexis, we all live here, and y'all move in with us. We got room.
One thing that did stand out to me from the practice reports, who's the sort of the Rico Scott of the defense? The guy that, he's probably not going to start, but he's good. Huh?
I love it. I mean, I'm pins and needles. I'm loving this.
You don't know where I'm going?
No, I'm loving this.
QB Reese.
Oh my.
QB, my man, my boy, my man. I've been loving me some QB Reese for a long time. And
I must pray that he ends up being a star at Alabama.
Just for me.
Yeah.
Just for me.
And what I would tell people all the time is, even though me and you, we're fans of the star rankings. I mean, we understand we want 5 stars. We want high 4 stars. Me and you, we're both on board with that. But what we're not on board with is people that, like, when you get a low 3-star or someone that's not ranked high, the people that immediately give up and say, oh, that guy will never be any good.
Yeah.
You're just wrong. You're just wrong. Occasionally that guy will be good. And I'll give you an example of the guys that will be good. QB Reese was incredibly productive playing like 7A football in Birmingham. Mm-hmm. That's a clue every time. Highly productive players at the highest levels of high school football, they usually pan out. And here's a fact, whether you're like, well, I don't think QB Reese will be good or not. As of this moment that we're recording this, he looks to be ahead of Caden Jones. He's ahead of Abdul Sanders. Yeah. He's ahead of Duke Williams. He's ahead of Luke Metz.
That's why I'm saying this.
All of those kids were ranked ahead of him in terms of recruiting rankings. And we'll see how it works out. Maybe they'll all pass him up because they're all, frankly, bigger, stronger, faster guys. Maybe they'll pass him up. But as of now, QB's ahead. I don't know if there's anybody on the roster I root for more than him. So I love that take, Luke, and that the Rico Scott of the defense is QB Reese. I love it. But I do think Rico is like headed for an NFL draft near you.
Yeah, Rico is he's not, I say Rico Scott of the defense, but he's not Rico Scott in the sense that I know Rico's going to play a lot. I feel like QB's going to get some run, but I don't, when he gets in there, here's the thing with QB Reese. I think when he gets in there, and I believe in him, when he gets in there, he will make enough noise where you won't pull him out. But let's say he goes in against Florida State, and let's say he misses an assignment or two, I think he can be also passed up very quickly because these other dudes are more highly rated. They probably cost a little more, how things are now, and you don't want them transferring. And So I'm saying if QB Reese gets out there, and I believe this is what will happen, it'll be hard to take him off the field.
That's exactly right.
But if he goes out there and he messes up, it'll be easy to get him off.
True. I think you can almost hear the conversation in the staff room. I mean, a conversation that's taking place in the staff room. You can almost hear this, which is one coach in the room says, boy, QB Reese, he looks fantastic. And another coach says, he's too small. He's too slow. He doesn't have long arms. He's just not big enough. He's not fast enough. And another coach in the room says, well, if you don't like him, you'd make a huge mistake putting him off the field. Because once we put him on the field, we ain't never taking him off. We ain't never taking him off. Yeah, he'll tackle everybody, and he'll be. And I love him. And this is what I compare him to. And I mean, it's the ultimate compliment. I think he's Sean Dion Hamilton. Now I know he might even be a hair smaller, but to me, he's Sean Dion Hamilton, who I think is fantastic at Alabama.
Talking a little FanDuel now, because FanDuel is just awesome, and you want to play it. Summer sports are in full swing, and whether you're all about baseball under the lights, golf on the green, or high-stakes soccer action, FanDuel is the best way to make every game even more exciting. You're already following the action. Why not make it a little more thrilling with FanDuel? You can get in on the game while your friends are getting sunburned at the beach. I've been using FanDuel to track my favorite matchups, and the app keeps it fresh with new daily promotions and fun ways to bet. It's easy to use, fast to pay out, and makes even regular season games feel like must-watch events. Whether I'm placing a same-game parlay or watching a bet ride into the ninth inning, FanDuel makes it feel like I'm part of the action. And you know how much I love that. New to FanDuel, new customers can bet just $5 and get $150 in bonus bets if your first bet wins. Open the FanDuel app or visit FanDuel.com to get started with FanDuel, which, as we know, and I've said before, is awesome. Jimmy, you wanted to talk a little bit about the pass rush, or how good it's going to be, or how great it's going to be, or is it going to be lackadaisical? I think it'll be better. We don't have a Will Anderson on this team. We don't have a Ryan Anderson on this team, if you ask me. Somebody may say, well, L.T. Overton's as good as
What about Harry Anderson on night court?
In the Shula days, we had some Harry Andersons. But I'll say, I'd love me a Chris Anderson. For those who don't remember Chris Anderson.
Your basketball buddy.
Yeah, I played on his basketball team back in the day. When I was at Alabama. By the way, I'm moving my daughter into Tutwiler tomorrow. So
that's big. We should spend a segment on that. Hey, we need to talk about your experience doing that. It's extremely Alabama relevant. After it happens, we'll do a segment on that.
I can't wait to do it because of what I found out today. So her mom and Mary Sanford are already down there spending the night. I'll drive in tomorrow with a truck full of other stuff, and we have to drop off Mary Sanford, all the stuff they brought from Ohio, and then all the stuff from my truck. And then the mom and I have to drive and park somewhere and then come back. Because they only let some other boys or something take all the stuff up there. And my friend and I were like, this is where we screwed up. We could have made $1 bazillion back in the day if we had said, every time the women start moving into Tutwiler, we just show up and just take the tips. And not only that, what a great way to go ahead and be like, go ahead and meet and greet, Yeah.
But the whole thing's fascinating to me. For those listening unaware, Tutwiler, I believe, is the largest female dormitory in the whole state of Alabama. It's a massive place. And move-in day is like a legitimate, real thing there. It's not like another day on the calendar. It's like a big deal. And when we're off the air, I'll tell you a good place to park because my place is just a block or two there.
Well, by the way, I should straighten this out. We're going to the dorm, not the prison.
Is there really a difference?
So Jimmy, I'd like to be locked up in one. I would not like to be locked up in the other. Or back in the day.
I had some clients in the other back when I was doing the law thing, and let me tell you, I've heard some stories. Not that we're telling them here. But wowza.
We're locked up in Bama. All right, so Jimmy, pass rush, talk about it.
Yep. It's a legit concern. I mean, I know everybody's like, oh, Jimmy's all rainbows and sunshines and everybody's the best player and a first-team All-American. It's not really how I am. And I'm going to talk about legit concern. I'm worried the pass rush won't be any better than it was a year ago. Now, on the one hand, the pass rush last year is a little underrated. There weren't a lot of sacks. The sack number was pretty abysmal. But they did a pretty good job of affecting the quarterback in pass rush scenarios, particularly LT Overton. Other guys did. I think this year they'll certainly be as good as that. They're making a concerted effort to up the sack total. And when you do that, you're giving up something to get something. It makes me a little nervous. Alabama doesn't have a Will Anderson. They don't have a Dallas Turner. I'm a Quay Russaw guy. I'm an LT Overton guy. There's your two primary, like if you had to pick out, okay, who's going to lead this team in sacks? Probably LT, maybe Quay Russaw. LT had 2 last year. I think Quay Russaw had 0 or 1. And that's going to be the guys that are going to lead the team. This is a completely legit concern. Like I bring up all the time about, can we run the ball from the running back position? When you look at last year's numbers, no. These are legit concerns. Now, it doesn't mean that we can't or we won't or it's going to be a disaster. I'm not saying that at all. I'm just saying, hey, it's our job here to bring up questions and concerns. And I think getting to the quarterback and getting the quarterback on the ground is a legit concern. Do we have the dudes to do it? Do we have the scheme to do it in our 3-3 defense? I hope so. We need to get better at that. But I also think the biggest critics are missing the point that actually last year the sack numbers weren't good, but they affected the quarterback pretty consistently.
I think we talked about this yesterday, saw a stat where the defense gave up only 14 points the last 7 games and we went 4-3. That's screwed up. Now, going back to the pass rush situation, Quay Russaw was just called like the freakiest guy on the team, I think, by Kane Womack.
Super freak. Yeah, Kane Womack said that, and he meant it as a compliment. I loved it because it gave me an excuse at least 2 or 3 times to I'm not a GIF comedy guy, but I did put out some Rick James GIFs in response to that because I think it's hilarious, calling Quay Russaw a freak in that sense. I was surprised that he used those terms because I don't think of freak when I think of Quay Russaw, just simply because it's not like he's 6'6" and 230 and runs a 4.3. I think he's freakishly gifted for a guy with fairly normal measurables for the spot. I mean, I think if you look at the position Quay Russaw plays and compare him to all the other SEC starters that play the same spot, I don't think Quay Russaw's bigger, stronger, faster than all those other guys. Now, I think he's a more gifted kid than many of the others, and in that sense, he's a freak. But in my own head, when I hear freak, I think of guys like Javon Curse, who was literally nicknamed the freak because he was so long. He's 240 pounds. He runs like a gazelle. Those are freaks to me. I think Quay Russaw is just freakishly talented, but I don't think he's a size speed guy. Do you? I mean, I don't even know that he's 6'3".
Yeah, I'm with you on this. I mean, look, if I'm going to kill other fan bases when they go overboard with some of their players, I'm not going to be a hypocrite here. I feel like Quay Russaw is a freak, especially compared to you and me, no doubt. He's also really, really good compared to any other college football player. But is he a freak in the sense of he's Will Anderson, he's Javon Curse? I mean, no, and we haven't seen that. I mean, if we had seen it, then I think I'd go, he may not be as long as him, but he's pretty freaky at getting back there to the quarterback. More
likely to have a 10 sack season, LT Overton or Quay Russaw?
I'll go Quay in an upset. A lot of people are going to go the other way. I'll go Quay in an upset because he's so freaky.
I love the answer. I hope it's right. I'll go LT because to me he was half step short of 10 a year ago. But we'll see.
First of all, before we forget this, I want to talk about it maybe on tomorrow's podcast. But The basketball SEC schedule came out. We're not going to talk about it today, but we talk about it tomorrow. I may even get Michael Southern at some point to go down the whole schedule because I guess it's pretty much all out now. But I love that Bama opens up with Kentucky and ends with Auburn, both at home. That's a ton of fun. I think the SEC did this thing right. And the last weekend is rivalry weekend. So very excited about Bama's schedule there. It's tough, but I mean, it's the SEC. It's going to be tough. So some new names on the recruiting front. There was one name that that came back up that I was like, we're really still recruiting running backs? But then it was clarified that, yeah, Alabama is still communicating with some running backs, sure, but not necessarily for this year. I mean, you've got to keep your relationship strong, especially now. I mean, your little black book, if you want to look at it like that, like a little black book, don't scratch out any of the names ever. I don't care how mad they made you. I don't care how bad the breakup was, whatever. You might get somebody, you might lose somebody to the portal and then get them back later. We've seen that.
Well, for every Alabama fan out there that asked the question, are you still in it for Tank Jones? Are we still working on Tank Jones? Could that still happen? If you're asking that, don't y'all realize that Texas is asking the same thing about Xavier Crowell?
Yep.
They're asking the same thing about him. So it ain't over. So you keep recruiting like no one's committed. And you keep recruiting based on the fact that, yeah, we're trying to flip guys that are committed elsewhere while power elite programs are trying to flip the guys committed to Alabama. So, yeah, you just keep on recruiting because if you do lose a Crowell or a CD Morgan, you know, you'd like to have some semblance of a backup plan. I do think while I mentioned Tank Jones, I want people to consider this. Consider this about Tank. He grew up an Alabama fan. He's in Alabama. It's 5 months till signing day. Everyone he goes to school with wants him to sign with Alabama. All the employees at his dad's workshop, they all want him to go to Alabama. The money favored Oregon, but not by a ton, just significant. It's probably not over. It's probably not over. It's not over until Tank Jones and his people tell Alabama, stop calling. To my knowledge, that hasn't happened. I'm just saying, I'm not predicting it. I'm not telling y'all. I'm just saying it's a long way to signing day, and there's a lot of things pushing Tank to Alabama, and who knows what's going to happen during the regular season. Will Alabama decide to, quote, come up with more money? That's not exactly how this works, by the way. But, yeah, there could be more Alabama money. Signing day is not till December. So don't just zero, like no chance with Tank. That's not true. Wouldn't bet on it. I think he's made his decision. But December is 5 months away. That's just one example. Keep in mind what I just said about Tank. That's what Texas is saying about Crowell. What desperation would Auburn have about CD Morgan? I'm just saying, recruiting is not over. Let's just see what happens.
So who are some of the new names?
I don't know new names, but this is what I think will happen. I'll give you all one name because I mentioned it today when someone asked me on the BOL board.
And by the way, when I asked you for topics, you said, how about new names on the recruiting trail? I'm like, awesome. I want to hear them too. And now you're telling me you don't know any.
I have a new name, and it's not a new name. I'll give you a name, Blaine Myrick. How's that? But here's the interesting. So we're losing 3 inside linebackers, right? You're losing Justin Jefferson. You're losing Nakia Hill-Green. You're losing Deontay Lawson. I think it's only natural that Alabama is probably going to want an inside linebacker in the portal. Well, the Sun Belt Conference Defensive Player of the Year preseason is at South Alabama. He's an inside linebacker. He's from Fairhope, and he was recruited to South Alabama by Kane Womack. Blaine Myrick is his name. He was a DB at Fairhope, about 205 when he left the Fairhope Pirates. Now he's like a 240-pound inside linebacker, preseason player of the year in the Sun Belt on the defensive side of the ball, has the eligibility to come back next year. There's an interesting name. I mean, does that mean that he would have any interest? Does that mean Alabama's going to have any interest? No. But I do think that things are lining up for Alabama to be quite interested in an inside linebacker in the portal. He ain't in the portal. He may never get in the portal. He may leave South and go be a day 2 pick in the draft next year. Or he may stay right at South Alabama because he loves them because they're the one college that gave him a shot out of high school. So I don't know what's going to happen there, but there's a name for y'all to be like, hey, well, Alabama might sign inside linebacker in the portal. Blaine Myrick at South Alabama makes a lot of sense.
A couple of things. First of all, South Alabama plays Auburn this year, so we may get to see a little bit of Blaine Myrick. Secondly,
against SEC competition.
The first thing I thought of when you said Blaine Myrick, because I didn't know that name at all, and I've been, looking at all these high school names forever, and I was like, this reminds me of the Nate Bargatze thing, where he's like, being a scientist has got to be pretty easy because, one day the Earth is 300 million years old, the next day is 600 million years old, and he's like, well, how many people got fired for that? And they're like, nobody. And he's like, well, it seems like you were way off. And he said, he was like, one day beetles, they just come up to us and go, beetles are 200 million years old. And he's like, is that really right? Or do you just know, I don't know how to check that. I thought that's what you were doing about Blaine Myrick on your
I thought it was just making up that name.
Yeah, just say, my guy incognito.
A little harder for me to do in this situation because I happen to know this kid's dad.
Yeah, okay.
But I think it is an interesting situation where things lined up. Now, you want some high school names? I'll just throw these names out there. Not that I'm saying Alabama's involved in them. I'm just saying this is what can happen during a senior year. Down here in my local area, South Alabama, Caleb Morris is a defensive lineman, 6'4", 240 at Mary Montgomery. He's committed to Mississippi State. Davin Young is a nose guard at Theodore, 6'3", 300, committed to South Alabama. Jermaine McCree is a 5'10", 180-pound corner from Williamson that's committed to Appalachian State. Those are guys that are just kind of worth watching their senior years that could make some sort of big leap when you're like, well, obviously you're good. Who knows when they could blossom into something great. So just because there's names not offered by Alabama doesn't mean there aren't guys out there worth watching. And senior year blow-up guys generally don't cost a lot against your rev share number either, because you're just giving them an opportunity in the SEC, which is what most kids like that are dying to have.
All right, that's going to do it for today's pod. We'll be back tomorrow with more. Until then, roll tide, everybody.
Roll tide.